Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. Here we are, another episode of the Orange Podcast. My guest today, Heather Perkins. Heather, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Corbett.
Thank you so much for coming by. Your gift is very appreciated, for those who can't see because there's no video. I am holding a Williams-Sonoma brand avocado pitter and chopper, I guess, or the avocado tool. What do they call it?
Yeah, I think it's a smasher.
Smasher, okay.
Yeah.
And it's got this cool serrated edge to get the pit out and this cool scooping edge to get all the avocado out, and then smashing it into guac. She's the second guest in a row. Well, the second guest in 3 guests to mention my guacamole skills.
Yeah, king of guacamole, apparently.
I don't know how you knew this, so I got to ask. Who told you I was the guac king?
Well, I have listened to some of your episodes.
Okay, that's an honor.
You know, you may have had some other people that have mentioned it, so it's like stuck with you now.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm okay with this title for the record. Yeah,
but you do realize that we may have to have some sort of a guacamole cook-off or something. Challenge.
Oh, you are so on.
Yep.
You're gonna not enjoy the fact that you just challenged me to a guac-off. Let's go.
Well, although I don't claim to have the best guacamole.
I do.
That's the thing.
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah. I've been going to Mexico with my family since I was born, and I've continuously been tweaking that recipe. So
I'll tell you what.
Let's go.
I will make you. So I make ceviche.
Okay.
So,
I love ceviche.
Yeah. If you can do shrimp, I do a pretty mean ceviche. So, maybe we have a good combination between your guacamole and my ceviche.
Maybe we just get together and eat.
Maybe we can do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, we could
perfect.
just skip the competition and I'll make a lot of guac and you make a lot
sounds like a football game.
I was going to say,
right?
We're planning a Super Bowl party. There you
Perfect.
go. Done.
Yay,
okay.
have something to do.
February's coming right around the corner. I think we just planned a guac and ceviche party.
Yeah.
We're going to need a lot of very good chips.
Yeah, and maybe a little tequila or something.
That's definitely, that's easy. that part's easy. Okay, so, well, no, screw it. Well, it's in your guac. I was going to say, let's jump in. Well, I was going to jump into more related stuff,
goodness.
but
I can't
no.
give you my recipe. That's like asking a magician for his secrets.
I didn't ask you the ratio. I just said, give me the ingredients.
Okay, well, I mean, it's all about freshness, right?
True.
So you gotta, I just chop up like some jalapenos, depending on how spicy you want it, some purple onions, some tomatoes, really nice fresh chopped cilantro, lime, good amount of lime in there, salt, pepper. I'm trying to think. And okay. So sometimes I'll throw a little dash of tahini in there. You know what tahini is?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to give it a little added like pizzazz. So it's pretty straightforward. Salt, pepper, you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very similar. I don't do pepper and I don't do jalapenos. And instead of red onion, I use shallots.
Okay.
Because the shallots are spicier and have that bite. And I also put a lot of really finely chopped garlic.
Oh.
So mine's got enough bite from the garlic shallot combination that I've deemed the jalapeno not required.
Oh. But isn't everything better with jalapeno?
No.
Like even beer. Have you ever had spicy like
I'm the wrong guy. I hate beer, so like I can't. Yeah. Sorry. I like the type of like watered down, crappy hot weather beer you eat with the chips and guac, not the like IPA,
fine, like craft beer.
Yes, I don't want any smoke, but to me, it's all garbage. I don't understand it.
Wow.
Yeah,
How can you live in North Carolina?
I know.
And not like craft beer?
Trust me, I know. Honestly, it's weird being in America and not liking alcohol. Like as a whole, I am not a huge drinker personally.
That's good though.
Yeah, I mean, for health reasons, I don't know anyone who's going to argue that, like, you should be drinking. Like, no, I think everyone's on the same page there. But, like, I don't have a problem with people who drink. I can go out with the people who drink and get a club soda and everything's fine.
Yeah.
But I just, I actually feel like I'm being poisoned. Like, when people are like, oh, yeah, I'm drinking and I feel drunk. And then, like, I'm a little slower, hungover the next day. It's like, to me, you've changed this. We're just swapping words. To me, I feel poisoned. Like, it is poison. Yeah. We can have an argument about that if you don't believe me, but it is.
Yeah.
And I don't like being poisoned, so I don't do it.
That makes sense.
It's just that simple. Yeah, I really value my mornings more than the rest of my day. And if I drink the night before, my morning's gone.
Yep,
and if I don't really focus on my morning, the rest of my day kind of crumbles behind it. So the simple solution is have one whiskey a month at that appropriate occasion and call it a day. And it doesn't seem to be a negative in my life other than mixed reactions from people who are so shocked. They're like, "What do you mean you don't drink?" Or you
awesome.
who says like, "How do you live in North Carolina and not like craft beer?" Like, trust me, I did a vacation to Asheville and it was a huge waste of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I also don't hike. So if you don't hike and you don't like craft beer, there is nothing to do in Asheville. And I made that mistake.
Yeah.
Going there in winter months and did not leave the Airbnb. So, I don't want no smoke. Asheville's beautiful. Craft beer is good if you like it. Like, that's, but, we all have our thing, and that's not my thing. Yeah. Are you a craft beer person?
Well, so I'm sort of like you, honestly. Like, I don't do awesome with a lot of different alcohol. Like, I actually break out in rashes and hives and things like that. So I was sort of joking about the tequila thing. I can have a drink, but, like, I'm good with just one, you know what I mean? Like, if I have it, because I will, like, get all hivey and itchy, and I don't know if I have, like, some sort of, like, genetic thing. Like, I feel like I'm allergic to alcohol.
I mean, you probably are.
To some extent. So,
But I mean, literally, hives, that's an allergic reaction.
My husband loves craft beer, so you will see us at a lot of like breweries and things like that because he totes me along. I'm at a lot of breweries because of my kickball team, but I'm never enjoying them, or I'm just like, if I really want to be in the group in the sense of having a drink, I will literally walk up to the bartender and just be like, "Your lightest." I'll be like, "What?" I'll be like, "Your lightest beer." Like, I know you're all craft IPA and junk, and like, to me, this is all garbage. So give me the lightest one that I'll stomach the easiest, that won't taste like a skunk. I've switched to drinking like ciders. Like they don't seem to bother me as much, and I do have a little bit of a sweet tooth.
That's the thing I don't like, is they're too sweet for me.
Okay.
Yeah. But I also, as the Yankee turned Southerner, I can't drink sweet tea.
Oh.
I can't do it. Like, I can't even do half and half.
Really?
Yeah. I need like 90% unsweet, and then the splash of lemonade to do the Arnold Palmer.
Yeah.
Or just unsweet tea. But, that's
healthier that way.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even, from a health perspective, this is an obvious duh. Like, tea that is good for you in water that is required is great.
Yeah.
Add a bunch of processed white cane sugar, obviously not good for you. And like anybody who's going to be like, that's not true, it's good for you, you're just wrong. And like, I'm not even a doctor, but you're just wrong. Like, there's no scenario where it's a good move. But we're not having that conversation. We're just having a taste conversation. And like, for me, I just drink it and I'm just like, whoa, and I feel like my teeth decaying in real time, and I can't do it. I just can't do it.
I can't do like Dunkin' Donuts. The coffee, it's just
Dunkin' coffee?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's way too sweet.
So their coffee without sugar, it's sweet.
Oh, no. Well, I always get like cream and sugar, but they always put way too many like
okay.
I don't know, like drops of I don't know what they use, like.
You mean like if you were to get like one of their like pre-made flavored drinks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, all the flavoring is death. Yeah. Like, I used to be a huge fan of chai tea. Well, I still am a huge fan of chai tea. And I would roll to, before I liked coffee, I'd go to the group of people who wanted to get coffee. We'd go to Starbucks and be like, yeah, let me get an iced chai tea. And their chai is like a concentrate that comes in a cardboard box. And they pour like 2 inches in there, then a little bit of milk, and then they just fill it up with ice. So I was like, okay, I'll do fat-free milk or skim milk or whatever, and it's just I'm having chai tea, a splash of milk, and some ice. Healthy, or so I thought. And then I got one of those containers from the grocery store, the like Starbucks brand chai tea concentrate, and you read the back. It's literally the same sugar as like a Coca-Cola.
That's crazy.
And I was like, what the hell? So I realized that this, unfortunately, is across the board. Every coffee spot I go to, I'm a big fan of dirty chais, because as a kid, it was just chai. I didn't want coffee. Now I like the coffee, so put them together. Dirty chai is just coffee. It's just chai with espresso. But almost all of the coffee places that I've been to have a concentrate that they purchase from a supplier, and it's not sugar-free. So I've got to be disappointed like every coffee shop, with the exception of one, and they are not a sponsor, but I will shout them out anyway. Cocoa and Cinnamon in Durham.
Okay.
They make their own chai every morning, real tea bags, sugar-free. And then when you order it, they say, would you like sugar, honey, vanilla, or nothing? And I just say nothing. So I'm a cocoa and cinnamon customer for life, because just for that reason. The sugar thing is, it's a big deal. It's a slow, rather, and silent killer. Both my grandparents had diabetes. It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's just not fun. And it's don't get me wrong. Like when you go buy Reese's cups, there's no like, oh, you should worry about the sugar. Like, you're killing yourself with the candy. It's delicious. Enjoy the candy. But the problem that I've got is when there's so much sugar like snuck into things that you don't think of. Like, I don't eat it anymore, but if you go look at the sugar content in like a Big Mac, it's like a candy bar, because there's so much sugar in the bread and the ketchup. And where you like, don't get me wrong, I don't think anybody's going to McDonald's like this is a good healthy meal, but you might be ordering a burger not necessarily thinking that it's full of your entire caloric day's worth of sugar. And that's like a kind of a little sneaky thing that is super unfortunate. But that just kind of falls a lot under that umbrella of, processed foods in general. Yeah. Hence why we're going to make fresh ceviche and fresh guac and have some moderate amounts of fresh tequila for the Super Bowl. Yeah. So come on down to the Super Bowl party. Yeah.
That's fine. We don't need it. Yeah. I was joking.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a little bit of a tricky kind of sneaky issue with sugar in this particular country. I can't really speak for other countries. Oh, I hear the job site dog, the studio dog.
Yeah.
Nope, he's going to sleep. Okay, that's okay. He'll come bother us later. Yeah. Okay, so zoning back in. What do you do for a living?
Okay, so I am a cabinet refinisher.
Okay.
Yep.
Right, which was what I spotted you on Facebook, I think, and that is the topic of refinishing cabinets is very much a mixed bag, depending on who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of painters who are not specifically cabinet refinishers really don't like doing it. Really try to emphasize that it probably won't come out as good, or the price is not worth it to refinish versus replace. There is not a lot of, at least in the experience that I've had with my subs, not a lot of what I'm using air quotes, a lot of just straight up painters who will do that even. Like my guy was like, yeah, we could, I got to take a look at him. And he'd have to just come up with a price based on that particular job. But it's only in the last 2 months that you're now the second specialist who pretty much only does cabinet refinishing. So why do you think, beyond maybe some of the obvious things, that is the case? Excuse me if I misspoke there. Because cabinets, they have for the average homeowner and listener,
Mm-hmm.
it's way more than just there's a piece of wood and it has paint on it.
Right.
Yeah. There's a piece of wood, but that piece of wood had to be a certain grade all right from the get-go. And then, if you're talking about a stain, that's really hard to redo. The stain goes into the fibers of the wood, and then there's 2 or 3 coats of clear coat. How many are there these days?
Well, depends on the product that you're using.
Okay.
Probably 2.
Probably 2.
Yep.
Okay. And then with the paint or the enamel or whatever you want to call it, there's at least probably a coat of primer, 2 coats of paint, and then the same 2 to 3 coats of finisher.
Well, again, it depends on the product that you're using. So in our case, we use an Italian water-based polyurethane product, and it's called E0072, ICRO. So most of your listeners will have no idea what I'm talking about. It's a new paint that's been...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
The company actually has been around in Italy for 75 years. So I believe they are one of the oldest paint manufacturers around. But the Italians are 20 years ahead of the U.S. with paint technology. So most professional, I shouldn't say most, many professional refinishers who really want to put the best products on their clients' cabinets will use some form of an Italian 1 or 2K, usually 2K, water-based paint. So
what is the 1 or 2K other than the literal translation meaning 1,000?
Yeah, so just in layman's terms, so a 1K paint is a 1-component paint, meaning you're using it straight out of the can. It already has everything in it to make it hard and basically do what it's supposed to do. If you want to add more durability to the paint, you can make it a 2K paint. So a 2-component paint is adding a catalyst into it. I personally don't do that because you need a certain setup for it. The chemicals that you add as the catalyst into that paint are called isocyanates. And so they're very, very, very toxic to work with. And I already work with a lot of toxic chemicals and things in my life, and I just choose to not go there. It does require air-fed respirators, and it's really, if you have asthma, which I do have some asthma, and some other things, you shouldn't be working with the product. So it's like a tad bit more durable, I would say, than a 1K. But the 1K product that I use with E-Grow is like by far better than pretty much any paint that you can get here in the U.S. So it's already super, super durable. It's just like, in my opinion, my professional opinion, and I've done testing on it, it's like, why bother using the 2K, you know? So maybe in the future, if we get different setup and, you know, I have other people that want to work with it, then we'll go there, but it's not happening in the near future. So I know this E-Grow manufacturer is coming out with actually I'm doing a training in November for a product that is a non-isocyanate 2K product. So there is hope that, you know, maybe we can start working with the 2K products without that chemical in it.
Okay. And so you're mentioning the spray, the chemicals. Is this a situation where you do all of it on the site of where the kitchen is, or do you like take as much as you can to a shop?
That's a great question. So we always take off the doors and drawers, anything that can come off. Basically, we'll take it off and we bring it back to our workshop to be airless sprayed. And then we actually offer our clients the choice to have their boxes either. So the boxes are the whatever's remaining attached to the walls. We'll offer to have them either sprayed on site or we can hand roll them out. A lot of people actually don't really want us, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's health reasons or what have you, but they don't like having us set up like the spray barrier in their home and having to vent things out. And so I would say like 90% of our clients have us roll out the boxes. It's also more expensive too to spray on site, but we do both. So
gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why the spray barrier would bother people. I would only care about the finished product versus the price. But that's me personally.
Well, I mean, it is significantly more expensive to have things sprayed, but I don't know. I mean, I've met all sorts of different people. Like, I think there have been some horror stories of like I always have my clients I have them shut off their HVAC system just to be on the safe side, even though I know that sometimes it's not totally necessary because of where things are, the intake things are. But just to make them feel better, I'll just have, you know, them shut off their HVAC system. But you have heard horror stories of like dust and paint particles going throughout the rest of the house. And I think that sometimes that's what people think of, you know, when they have their kitchen sprayed. So,
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's kind of a never-ending debate about, you know, healthy air and what is actually in the products that we build a lot of houses out of. And VOCs are a big conversation nowadays. No, listeners, I don't know what VOC stands for, but it's
a volatile organic compound.
This is why I have another expert in the house.
Yep.
But I do know that if you are looking to not have VOCs, then you want to look for products with the green gold certification, because I have a client who's demanding that we get products with that certification because their son is allergic to
Well, they'll still have VOCs.
They're the lower version.
Yeah, there are very few paints that don't actually have them. I can think of, I had one client that insisted that we used a non-VOC paint. So she provided me with the paint, which we don't. That was back in the day. I don't let my clients now choose their paints. This paint that we work with is on that low VOC because you'd have to like look at the measurements of all the paint, but it's a low VOC and it's biosustainable. So it's not bad for the environment when we're cleaning things out. Just it's fine. So
do you do anything else other than cabinet refinishing, or is that exclusive?
We've had a lot of people ask us about furniture refinishing.
What about just like walls?
Well, yeah, we have, I mean, not through my company. I have people on my team that are professional, interior, exterior painters. Some people do wallpaper. We have a professional artist on our team that does murals, and she's amazing. And we're going to be actually launching, I can't say anything about it now, but like launching something really exciting with her next year that relates to murals and cabinets. So that's going to be pretty exciting for next year. But
does her name happen to be Beth?
No, it's actually Michelle Zanolini.
Okay, I was just curious because I know a
Durham. Shout out to Michelle.
I know a Durham artist who does murals, and I was like, if you two are linking up, the world is too small. But no, okay. Okay, so what's the name of your company?
Oh, so we are a la carte cabinet painting. We're out of Apex. We serve the greater Raleigh area. We actually had a project this past week in Fayetteville. So we don't normally go down there, but if it's a large enough project, we'll make the trek. So
okay. So in terms of like an average job, obviously there's some sort of somebody, a client had to reach out, consultation, whatever, and then you're going to, go out there, take a look at the site, assuming that the job is a go. You're going to take off the drawer faces. You're going to take off all of the doors. I'm assuming you're taking off all the hardware and puttying all those holes. And then, like you said, you're either going to, tape the room off and spray, or most likely it sounds like people are not really big on the spray and you're going to roll. And then the reinstall, do you take it all the way to, like customer gives you the new handles and you're re-drilling the holes and putting those in? Or are you like, hey, you just have to like hire our associated carpenter / handyman to finish that off?
Yeah, no, we do offer that. If anybody is, switching out their hardware, I find out in advance.
Right.
So I always ask for the hardware prior to us doing any spraying on the doors. So we do that before we prime the doors, and that's an easy. We do that all the time.
You'll pre-drill them before you prime?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
interesting. Because I'm always getting my cabinets, from the GC side of the umbrella, I'm getting my cabinets like brand new, assembled, finished, with no holes in them. Yeah. And I have to remove them from a cardboard box and screw them onto the wall. And then I have this super cool fancy jig that, I have to drill the holes on site. We can do that,
but it's just for our purposes, it's way faster from a reinstallation to have everything done in advance. And then we're just putting things back together.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep. So it's more of a time issue.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Efficiency.
There is no other option for me, and it does not take a lot of time.
Right.
If
you just had if you just had a few, it's easy, right? But,
no, I mean it's easy to do a whole kitchen because I have a very, very cool jig that I got from a cabinet magazine or whatever the hell it was, and basically once you lock it in place to the handle, you don't have to do it's thinkless. You just like. It has a stop block in two directions and it can't move, and two holes that you drill through, and then, you just go back and put them on with a screwdriver.
Yeah. Lots of times we'll have people, changing out their hinges as well. So, we can, if we know that that's something they want to do in advance, and we'll measure the doors, make sure that they're getting the right hinges.
I mean, especially if it's super outdated, like you would assume if it's in the customer's budget, they'd want to upgrade everything to soft close.
Yeah.
And just, possibly go from, a very old school looking hinge to a new like chrome or brushed nickel or whatever we're going with, so it makes sense that you would want to swap all that out. And in the scheme of things, it's a couple $100 worth of hardware. It's not an insane thing to think about, especially in the world of soft close. It's kind of become the standard now.
Right. Yeah. Right. I will say the only thing that I don't do is I actually use a carpenter. So I got a guy. It's like a famous thing saying in the industry. I got a guy. He does the soft close slides. So if anybody wants to change out their drawers to a soft close slide, I don't personally do that. I know how to do it. I just don't have time to do it. So I hire him to do it. But yeah, and not it can't always be done. So if you have like a drawer with metal boxes, like you can't put soft close slides on.
Yeah,
those.
there are
instances where it just you can't do it.
Yeah,
so.
there are handicaps for every caveat, but for I would say like 80% of the time you can probably get either a whole new slide or that little adapter thing that goes on the back, and you know they've gotten pretty good at having both like just the new product, but then also like, oh, you're trying to keep this old product that didn't break, but you want to make it modern. We have that too. You know,
Yeah.
like shout out to Home Depot, they're not bad at that, or whoever they carry. I guess Home Depot doesn't make anything, but yeah, it's definitely an easier way to modernize and facelift your kitchen if you don't want to change the physical layout.
Right.
Because obviously you're not a very helpful service if you're trying to completely rearrange the layout of your kitchen. And no matter what,
Right.
cabinets have to be taken out and new ones have to be purchased. And, you know, unless, of course, like, you know, we can make up an example where it works, where, you know, in fact, I got a real life one where my friend / soon to be bathroom renovation client, Mike, he, you know, took out 2 wall cabinets, moved them to another side of the room, and then bought 5 cabinets that didn't match because they're unfinished,
Right.
and made a kitchen island. And it would be a perfect example where you could go take all the unfinished ones and all the existing ones and refinish all of them into one finish.
Right.
And all of a sudden his kitchen looks brand new and he just needs countertops and a new backsplash. Yeah. So there's an example where it still works.
Yeah. And that happens. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
You know, for a lot of our clients, we'll be doing, you know, changing out their countertops and their backsplash. And so there's a few moving parts. And one of the questions that I get all the time is, how do you know what order to do things in? You know, because most of the time people are not hiring GCs when they have a few projects that they're doing in the kitchen. So the general rule of thumb I tell people is to save your cabinet painting to last. So for anybody out there wondering, you know, what order do you do things in when you're doing a few things? Save the cabinet painting to last. There's a few reasons for that. I mean, lots of times, especially with those countertops, you know, when they're uninstalling them, if you just repainted their cabinets and, you know, they nick the cabinet paint, that's a problem, right? So it's always easier just to save that one to last. And a backsplash can go either way. Lots of times, sometimes you'll have like tile covering part of a little part of the scribe molding, you know, on cabinets. So, and sometimes I don't know why they bring them up. Usually the backsplash only goes up to like 18 inches, but sometimes it'll go, especially around windows and things like that, it'll go up another like few inches on that scribe molding. And then it's like the client has to decide, are you going to keep the extra 4 inches that doesn't seem to be serving a function there, or just get rid of it? So lots of times people will just get rid of it. I don't know if that's been your experience, but in that case, you know, we want that.
I've never come across that. I'm always the one that is getting the call to rip out the countertop backsplash from mica all in one and then put in something real.
Yeah.
So in that case, for me, it's a very simple order of operations: demo, countertop, backsplash, because backsplash sits on countertop.
Yeah.
And then paint's always last.
Yeah.
Conversation's over. Like there's no conversation where you don't do the paint last because the electrician's gonna scuff the wall putting in the ceiling fan.
Yeah.
I have my painter who knows that that's going to happen, and he'll be like, I still want to go in before the plumber and the painter because I want to do like a rough spray, and then I'll go back with a touch-up. And I was like, okay, but there's no more money.
Right,
like, it's
right.
it's a fixed fee if you want to go there twice. But, like, you know, if you don't want to tape off, because he doesn't want to tape off the ceiling fans or whatever, and risk getting spray on them. So he'll go in there and spray and go buck wild when there's nothing in there.
Right.
And then he'll go in with a brush, really, and you know, do any fine up touch up stuff, or, you know, you go through with the painter's tape and put it everywhere.
Yeah.
I have seen some hilarious videos where you know, it's like you look at the wall and you can't even see the paint job because there's just like so many blue pieces of tape. And it's one of those situations where it's like that painter's probably doing a fine job and that customer is just unpleasable, like, at the end of the day, and you just have to roll the wall a third time, you know. Sometimes you just have to do it.
We we'll tell our clients, so what we do is we do the boxes, you know, like a Thursday, Friday, we'll do the boxes. And then we'll come back on a Wednesday to do the reinstall of doors and drawers. But over the weekend, we'll just tell people, hey, you know, because we're doing everything by hand, unless we're spraying. Still spraying by hand. But, you know, it's when you're rolling things out and using brushes here and there, mostly rolling, you know, I mean, we're human. We can miss things, especially when you're working with white paint. You sort of, after a while, you kind of go white blind. So we always tell people, listen, if you see anything that we missed, no worries. Like, we're going to be back on Wednesday. We'll touch it. We're going to go through everything again, just to make sure that everything looks as perfect as possible. But, you know, take some painter's tape and just put little pieces on spots that you think that needed something a little bit more. So, it's sometimes there's more blue tape than what you care to say, but there's other times when it's like they'll put blue tape on something and we'll look at it and be like, why is this here? Like,
or like I love the one where they put blue tape on it because it clearly was just like it was dry to the touch, but it wasn't dry.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and by the time like I or the painter go there, it is now dry and it looks perfect. And it's like, okay, well, you're like, maybe learn how paint works before you just criticize everything that is being done. Hence the creation of this podcast to educate people. Like, your paint can be dried to the touch and still need a whole day to fully dry, and the color changes with drying.
Yes.
So, like, acknowledge that in your life.
Well, Corbett, did you know that there's an industry standard that us cabinet refinishers go by with regards to, like, not really touch-ups, but how things should look, like a finished product should look?
No.
So it's in most refinishers will put it in their contracts. So just so they know, like, so after we finish a job, because let's face it, like, if you're having your cabinets refinished by someone like myself or any other refinishing company, it's not like we're sending these items away to a manufacturer to have things sprayed. And we all have a high level of control in our spray environments and things like that. But still, like, we're human, and, like, you know, if you're up with a microscope looking at something, like, to the cabinet, and you might see like a little dot, like, that's we try and get everything, but, like, if you can't see it from 39 inches away, that is the standard. So you got to be standing back at, you know, looking at things head on, not at like funky angles or lighting, natural lighting, 39 inches away. If you can't see it, that's a really good job. So that's sort of the standard. So
that's not good enough. You need to explore getting new cabinets.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, our stuff is pretty. I have to say, it's pretty flawless. And, you know, we inspect things. So if we're hanging something and we're up really close and we can see something, then we'll try and fix it. So our standards are way, way, way higher than, like, you know, a homeowner's would be. But I always try to set proper expectations with people, that like, yeah, you are having your wood doors refinished, and they might not be 100% perfect. Like they might be 99.9% perfect, but it's an art. Refinishing is an art, and one of the things that when you're dealing with like wood doors, you don't want to get any paint in between your floating panel and the piece in the middle and your stiles and your rails, which comprise of the frame of the door. So we go in with dental picks, and like we are clearing out the channels and making sure that wood can expand and contract. And you don't want to use a refinisher that's going to be caulking in between your panels and your stiles and your rails. That's a big no-no, because you have to allow for the expansion and contraction of the doors. So probably giving your listeners more information than what they need to hear, but it's important because I have run across instances where I'm fixing somebody else's job where it's been caulked or not painted properly, and it actually will crack the frame of the door over time. So that's a big no-no.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in, I don't know, countless houses of cabinets that have been refinished by the homeowner, and it is. Like if I wasn't trying to be professional, I would just be like, "Is this a joke? Like this looks worse than it did before, and you didn't use good paint. It's like everything is wrong."
Yes.
Do you weigh what it costs to just do a new kitchen?
Yeah, I mean,
or is that just not your guys' thing?
Well, I'm super honest with people, and I have walked away from jobs. So if it's going to cost the homeowner more to pay me in labor to fix a problem, like in that instance, if they were pre-painted doors and they were so bad, they had, let's say, 7 layers of paint on them that I'd have to remove and then, repaint things. And I would just say, get a new, like, you guys are going to have to remodel, or you're going to have to reface, at the very minimum, maybe we'll take on doing the boxes, but we're just going to say, listen, for the amount that I would charge you to refinish your doors, you're better off buying new doors and then, having us, we'll paint your new doors, but it's often cheaper just to go that route. So yeah. And I just had that happen this past week. Actually, I don't know if you saw our Facebook, but like I posted a picture of this island that literally, it was a handmade island, and it was pre-painted, and I priced this out back in, I don't know, I feel like it was back in April. So I took like one look at it. I was like, ooh, this is not a good paint job. But I had no idea like how much paint was actually on it. So when we got into doing the project, we did count 7 layers of paint. So because it was sort of like it was a really old island, we were like, let's salvage the island, we'll do what we can. And it came out beautiful, but it took us a day and a half to strip it down to bare wood. And it was just awful because the person that built it or whatever, it had beadboard all around it, but he caulked every single beadboard line. So like we had to like literally go in and scrape out all the old caulking, and it was just so much work. And I definitely didn't charge enough for that island. But you walk away with the satisfaction of knowing that you saved that it's really a piece of furniture that was meaningful to the family. So, but then I said the doors, I said to them, I can't refinish these doors. Like I'm willing to do the island, but we're going to be getting you guys new doors because doesn't make any sense. So yeah, so my carpenter's making them new doors as we speak.
Have you heard of Spray Net?
Spray Net? I can't say I have.
Okay. They're, I guess, your competitor, but they do it exclusively. They bring the spray booth to the site. They never take anything away. They make their own paints, actually, which I don't know any company that does that. And they're based in Canada. And I met Josh. Him and his sales lady came on the podcast a couple weeks ago to, just talk about their product and their history. They're like one of 2 or 3 franchises of SprayNet in America. And because they've been in Canada for, I guess, the last 20 years or whatever. So I was curious because they're doing the same type of thing, but they like exclusively, they're like very much, we do not want to take them. We want to take over your garage for a day and put up our little spray booth.
I mean,
and,
we have that ability
jam.
as well. I have a portable booth, but I choose not to do that because even with those portable booths, you're not going to be getting everything out of the environment. So I don't want to be like leaving any dust. I just don't want to be spraying in the customer's home unless we're setting up that barrier where there's nothing that's leaving that room, and it's in the kitchen. So that's my policy. I also when you in my workshop, it's very much contained. So when you have, you're working in other people's garages or other spaces, you can't really control that environment very much. I mean, we have air scrubbers going. We have, tons of different filters going on. You don't have flies coming in. It's just
clearly these guys have figured it out because they didn't start their company yesterday, but they have scrubbers and they put an entire mobile thing out there.
I have seen other painters I've seen painters spraying people's doors on their front lawn.
I mean, my painter just had to pressure wash an entire driveway at his own cost because he sprayed a carport and he put tarps down like he was supposed to.
Yeah.
And you can see this line clear as day of where the tarp was and how there's just this white overspray on this beautiful black asphalt driveway. And I was like, Felix, option A, fix it. Option B, I'm going to have to retar 25 feet by 18 feet of black driveway, and it's coming out of your pocket. Yeah. He got it all up with a pressure washer.
Yeah,
but
you can power wash it.
But it was this is not cabinet refinishing super quality enamel paint. This is, regular old white trim paint that is going up
don't
on
put that on your cabinets.
This is not cabinets. This is a structure. So no, definitely, definitely don't put trim paint on your cabinets. That's a terrible idea.
But I will say, one of the things, I think you had mentioned earlier about residential painters, they don't really want to take on cabinet painting, but actually more and more of the residential painting companies are starting to add it into their list of services, and it just for us refinishers, that's all that we do because it is such an art. It just sort of is painful when we have to go back and fix all of these projects because they're not using the right products. They're filling in the gaps between they're bridging. It's called bridging. Or for lack of a better term, it's just a crappy paint job. You know what I mean? They're not prepping it right.
For me, it's always
paint job's only as good as your prep, and it's all prep.
For me, it's come down to there's no money to be made, and I can give somebody a new kitchen for less money. So I've just never come across it. Every time my painter quotes, or I've had 2 competing.
What do you mean? There's no money to be made? Because it's way cheaper to paint your cabinets than it is to put in all new cabinets.
Well, my experience disagrees, but
I mean, especially wood. The cost of wood nowadays is really expensive. I guess if you were putting in MDF or HDF, then you could put in a lesser quality product for maybe, but it's still going to be more expensive because at the end of the day, you still have to paint those.
So our cabinets come.
Are they pre-done?
Already painted. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe because we're getting them at a cheaper cost because of the business connection that my parents' company has made. I'm not 100% sure, but granted, this is only anecdotal, and granted, this is only like 4 examples. So this is not like I have like 35 examples where this has happened, but there have been 4 times in the past where somebody was like, oh, we'd love to get them refinished. And I was like, okay, great. And I've brought in 2 painters to price what it would cost to refinish them. Mm-hmm. In this particular case, though, they wanted new countertops and new backsplashes either way.
Yeah.
So obviously, if they didn't want a new countertop and they didn't want a new backsplash, this is not apples to apples. Refinishing versus new cabinets, that's not the same. So in this particular case or these particular 4 jobs where they were going to do, from Formica to stone, and from basically no backsplash to subway tile, it ended up being either the same or actually way cheaper to just rip it all out and put in new cabinets. No, but
that's often not the case. I mean, it's most of our average paint jobs, like for a small to medium kitchen, are like 32 to 5,000. For really large. I mean, we've done really, really large kitchens. Like Tammi Keech.
I haven't been to her kitchen. No.
Professional organizer.
Yeah.
With Life
we love Tammi though. Yeah.
We did her kitchen.
We're fans of Tammi for Life Simplified.
Shout out to Tammi.
Yeah, she did the podcast. She's super fun. I actually ran into her at the Container Store of all places.
Yeah, like her kitchen. It's very large and has a lot of detail and things like that. So hers was significantly more. But that's not usually the case. I mean, typically most of our clients are spending like probably on average like 4,500-ish. So you'd be really hard pressed to replace your kitchen cabinets for that cost in most cases. And most of what we do is our wood cabinets. Like if we get, sometimes MDF comes up, but MDF is tricky because lots of times they'll have that thermofoil on the outside, which is kind of like this plastic kind of covering. But over time, MDF is, the builders, they're great for probably 12 years. They look fantastic for those first 12 years. I get why builders use them. It's cheaper and it looks good for a fair amount of time. But once that thermofoil starts going, it starts peeling, and there's just no way of saving it.
Yeah, I went into a kitchen once, and I literally, it was like I peeled off the whole.
Oh yeah.
Like the whole face of the door just came off. That the coloring, for to use a layman term for listeners, you look at it and you're like, oh, that's a piece of wood that's been painted. No. It's a piece of MDF, and they basically use an iron and like press on a piece of color that's like not even a 1/16 of an inch thick. And as you said, and then they do the same thing around the edges, the band edging, or I think is what it's called. And it's like you said, it's great. If you're flipping a house and you're on a budget.
Yep.
I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it and it will be fine.
Yeah.
But if you have any sort of care for longevity, it's particle board. It's garbage. It's sawdust and glue. And the first time that,
water.
The first time that, a seltzer explodes and it goes all over the door, the chances, unless you're diving with a rag at the same time, chances are you could ruin it that easily.
Yes.
It is that simple sometimes.
Yes.
Because it swells.
We see that all the time.
Yeah.
And so in those instances, we'll say, hey, reface. So I used to always turn those jobs away for that very reason, because I'm like, even if I put paint on this and it's going to seal it, let's say
it's not going to look good.
It's not. Well, no, you can get it to look great, actually. But my issue is let's say you bang into your cabinet and you end up chipping, you chip the paint somehow, right? And not with my new paint, but the old paint that we used to use. then like now that area is going to be exposed to potential moisture, and it's, you know, like why pay me, you know, $3,000 to refinish your these cabinets when you probably would be better off just buying new cabinets. Now we actually, with this new paint, we can take on I'm willing to take on the MDF because it does a better job of, it's a harder product and it does a better job sealing it.
You exclusively use this, how do you pronounce it?
E0072.
E0072?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm actually one of the first adapters of this paint in the United States.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Our distributor is out of Cornelius, North Carolina, so just outside of Charlotte. They actually I think they started as a paint refinisher themselves, and they expanded their business, and now they're almost, I think, well, they still do like some refinishing, but on a large scale. Like they have like machines that do the spraying. So it's more of a manufacturer type of look, you know.
So you get it from somebody in Charlotte, not like directly from Italy.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
because I was going to ask about any like import, export snafus, but somebody, the middleman's dealing with all that. You don't have to worry about any of that crap. Because the spray net, they actually have like issues every once in a while, they've told me, where, you know, the manufacturer, they manufacture their own paint in Canada, then they ship it to their people in America, and they've been like, yeah, every once in a while we're like, we get the wrong color, we send it right back, and then they look at us like, you sent this back real quick, what's in there? And we're like, no, it's just paint, you can look.
Right.
Like, sure, paint, there's nothing in between those cans, right? I don't know what Canada and America are sneaking back and forth, but I just found it to be hysterical, because in my mind, I don't think of like, you know, I don't think of a real border between Canada and America. Like between like America and Mexico, there's like movies and TV shows about like drugs and cartel and all that. You don't really think of that when you think of Canada. You're just like, oh, we just have a different currency. But there's a real border with real people.
Funny.
Yeah. The can looks hysterical. It's like very unnecessary.
Yeah. So our T-shirts for the E00 say Red Can Mafia, which is it's
Do you send them back to your manufacturer to get recycled?
No, I just dispose of them. I mean, it's a biosustainable product, so I just wash it out, like rinse out the paint, and you know, just recycle them with the rest of our
You should
stuff.
give them to like the Durham Art Council or something. They do something with, make a wall out of the cans or something like that.
That's an idea.
I mean, it really should. It would save you room in the dumpster. You know, I'm doing a job right up the street. Neighbor needs 7 windows replaced, and the frames are just garbage. They're black, they're rotted, they're chipping. You can pull them apart with your fingers. Geez. But the panes themselves are solid wood. The glass is not broken, and like I can't reuse them, but they're fine. So I took a couple pictures and I sent 3 text messages to people like, hey, this could be art, this could be a greenhouse, like before I literally throw them in a dumpster. Yeah. And they're like, oh, I'll take a few. Like, hey, it's just saving me room in the dumpster at this point. But I know, like, shout out to Taylor Bragg, who's mentioned at the beginning of every episode and did the logo, the painting of the table. She's going to come get like 3 or 4 of them and do something art related.
Well, if she wants any red.
Yeah, I'll ask her. Yeah.
Let me know.
If you have 100,000 of them, she'll make an igloo or something. Yeah. Start stacking them somewhere.
Hey, art is in the eye of the beholder. So.
It's true. Hey, it's true. I mean, they're metal. You could do something with them.
Yeah.
I don't, you know.
That was my major in college, actually, art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So.
Well, you're an artist now.
Yeah, I never thought in a million years I would be doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It's probably not the same like fulfillment for the artistic brain as like painting a picture of something or doing a mural, but you are really helping clients, which is super cool. And at the end of the day, you get to take like. It was one color and it is now a different color.
Yeah.
Like that, you know, there's some artistic stuff going on there.
So we offer free color consultations with our clients as well. So that's where I sort of shine. Like I love doing that because it's very design oriented. I'll go in and, we sort of like put the pieces together, and especially when there's lots of moving parts going on. And so many of my clients are like, I have no idea what kind of color to go with. So it's, I get to use my art background there.
I'll send them to you because clients all the time are asking me for what kind of tile, what kind of color, and I'm like, stop. You want me to tell you the type of tile I would use? Do you think we have the same style?
Right.
I'm like, you're 60, you have 4 kids. I'm 32 with no kids. You think we're the same person? Like, what do you want to look at for the rest of the time in this house?
Yeah.
Can never, ever be what I would suggest.
No.
I could give you the labor to install it. I cannot start helping you with I can tell you what it costs to paint it, not what color, but, I have several interior designers that I will be like, call this person.
Yeah. And I have a couple of interior designers that I rely on as well, because oftentimes when we start going down this rabbit hole of, just picking a cabinet color, they'll start asking me other questions.
Then it
so
unfolds.
what do you think about this area over here? This, and then I'm like, I have to put the brakes on and say, that's not what I'm sorry. I appreciate you wanting my expertise, but that's not valuing my time.
But see, you chuckle there. That's so like you need to be given a lot more credit than you're giving yourself for knowing that is not your lane.
Yeah.
And I think that is huge, and it's very relatable even outside of our industry. Mm-hmm. Like the person listening could be the you I'm talking about. If you're an expert in something, and just because a field overlaps with the other field you have to work on does not mean that you should be giving expertise or even consulted on that other field. Like you could be there with the designer, you could want to learn, you could have input, it could be a conversation, but the fact that you could just be like, look, I have other clients I have to get to, I have time that is valued, I have schedules that need to be kept.
Yep.
The fact of the matter is you have morphed from picking the colors that I offer into needing an interior designer, and I'm happy to give you one or all 4 of these people's numbers, and you can have coffee with all 4 and see who you vibe with. Like,
that's exactly
and
right.
The ability to do that is, I think, like, you kind of brush that off like it's not a big deal, and I think it's a huge deal, and it's something that I have to do all the time because when I was, I don't do a lot of building now. My foot's messed up. I have these great subcontractors. I'm the organizer. I'm the GC. But, I used to be the carpenter. Right. I used to be the trim carpenter and the framer and the window installer. And those particular things I am an expert at. But, when the sheetrocker like needed a hand and I just grabbed my drill, I'm like, whoa, I'm terrible at this. Like, you're the sheetrocker. Like, right. I know how to sheetrock in theory. And if we were doing one wall or a couple of patches or something, I got you. Right. But, for me to come in and be like, yeah, I could sheetrock this house. Like, no freaking way. It would take me 8 times as long. I'd screw up so bad. Like, I know that there is an expert. Shout out again, Felix. He's such a good sheetrocker. He is not the guy. He has a crew.
Right.
He has 4 dudes who come in and hang it all, and then 3 completely different dudes in a different vehicle who do the mud and the finishing because they're experts at it.
Right.
And it's just a matter like it is a crucial part to know your lane.
Yep. It's also too for me, because I am busy. It's like I respect and value my own my time, and I'm always super happy to be able to refer people out. These are people that my clients have used, I've used. I would never refer or recommend my clients to somebody that I'm not comfortable with or that is not trustworthy and reliable. Like,
because it's your reputation.
Because I know it's going to
come
back on me. So I have a very small list of people that I have on my list. And
I've been using the same subs for 11 years.
That's not my lane. This is we're talking color on my dime because I do free color consultations. And I try and keep it very concise. It's but it all starts with like learning, like you said, what I pick. It's not about me. It's about the client.
Yeah.
So when I walk into a kitchen, oftentimes I know what color they're going to use because it makes sense, but there might be some other moving parts going on that I'm not aware of. With their existing stuff, this color makes sense, but they might be changing out their backsplash or their countertop, maybe even their flooring. So all of those design pieces play such a large part in picking that cabinet color. So the cabinet color you want to be picking last, and but I always start with, well, what's the client's vision, for this space. And once I get a good understanding of that, it's like, okay, well then those questions, are you changing anything, and then we work off the large design pieces. And we do so many white kitchens, and not all whites are created equal, as you know.
Yes, the off-white world is big.
So it's like, I live in the white world. It's like, we have our most popular whites, but when somebody says, "Oh, I want a white kitchen," I'm like, okay, so, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
like, how white do you want it? And I always have samples with me, like, this is a Chantilly lace or decorator's white, and these are like, your
how many colors do you have?
Right, and then these are your soft whites, and so I try and get a general feel of what appeals to them, and then once we sort of kind of narrow things down, I'll do like virtual mock-ups and show like these 3 colors on their cabinets, and then once we even narrow things down more, then I'll send them samples through Sample-Eyes. So I'm an ambassador with Sample-Eyes, so I just send my clients samples of those.
How many colors do you offer?
They can get any color they want. So the E0072 paint has paint mixing technology. They call it color mix. So they can, like any major paint manufacturer,
you'll match it.
They'll match it. Yeah. Sometimes there was one time when my client chose a Magnolia Homes color, actually 2 Magnolia Homes colors, which Magnolia Homes, Joanna Gaines is the designer for those.
Joanna Gaines.
Shout out to Joanna Gaines. All your listeners out there know who Joanna Gaines is. She has like the big flipping show, like on HGTV.
Right. Yeah. Joanna and Chip.
Yes.
Right,
the Gaines.
Oh,
yes.
okay. Yeah.
So she has come out with her own.
For some reason, I thought you were like talking about somebody we knew.
Oh,
and
no.
I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know Joanna.
Gaines.
We're like really close.
Y'all are besties. Yeah.
We're besties. We hang out on the weekends.
Yeah.
So that actually, her paints are made by Kills, but for whatever reason, the Kills manufacturer is not in the color mix system. They're one of the few. So for that instance, I had to get a wet sample I had to order the Magnolia Homes paint and have it sent to the E0072 manufacturer, and then they had to come up with the formula, and it was like a perfect match. So we just go above and beyond to try and get you whatever color you want. So the choices are endless, which is nice.
I had this one client. The green that he picked was just like so. This was not cabinet related at all. It was a door, but still, it was like, we ripped off and replaced these doors and frames and trim, for that matter. Original 70-year-old doors, and I mean, I don't blame the client at all. He bought really nice doors. Shout out to Nathan and shout out to Talbert's Lumber and Melissa for just getting it all together. And it was great. Flawless job at the end of the day. But he picked this green, and it was a very, very, very dark green. And I remember my painter, he called me. It's not uncommon for a door to need, a good solid coat of primer and then at least 2 coats of finished colored paint. He calls me after the 4th coat, and he's like, "Corb, I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know what's going on." I go over there, and I'm looking, and it's like literally the stiles look one color and the rails look another. And I'm just like, what is happening? And, he bought super paint, Sherwin-Williams. I mean, not what you're going to use on your cabinets, but high quality stuff. Yeah. And, and this is my painter that has been doing flawless work for me for 11 years, and he's like, "I've never seen anything like this." And I was like, okay, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Show me the paint. And I looked at the paint, like I physically opened the can, and it was like clumpy.
Oh.
It was like thick, clumpy. And I was like, I don't need to be a painter to tell you that should be nice and smooth. Right. Like, go back and either get a refund or get another jar on the house, get him to mix it correctly, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, and at the end of the day, he was like, I just went to Lowe's and got the same color in a different brand and it worked flawlessly. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's just do that from now on. But it was very strange. I had never seen, you know, especially from a reputable company like Sherwin. I'm sure you're like, Sherwin-Williams, I would never use them ever. They're the worst.
No. I mean, they have their place. I mean, you know, when we first started the business, we used the Emerald urethane because we didn't know any better.
The Emerald, you know? Is that a line of paint from Sherwin?
Yes, it's their cabinet and trim paint. So, if you're, you know,
I mean, this was for
if you're a residential painter.
This was for a wood residential door.
If you're a residential painter, then you are most likely using the Emerald urethane. They actually have a new Sherwin has a new line out called the Gallery Series. So that is the product that is most closely aligned with what we use, but it's not. It's like, at the end of the day, it's better than some of the other, you know, Benjamin Moore Advance. Let's see, Benjamin Moore Command is another. Actually, Command is okay. It's not technically a cabinet paint, but it's very durable. If you put that on your cabinets, it's not going anywhere. It's
in the world of painting not cabinets, do you still think this is the best paint there is? Like, if I wanted to paint the outside of my house, would you recommend this paint?
They do make exterior paints. I have not used them because but I will say, so what makes this paint truly amazing is it has a very high solids content. So for example, like if you spray, like we do, pretend I had a door here and it had primer on it. Let's say I was using red paint and I just do I spray it on, right? So when we spray, we go this way and then we flip it and then we do this way. So you get two coats in one spray. But it'll cover it completely. Like, you will not see any white coming through. It'll be super solid because there's so much solid content in the paint. So the coverage on this is unbelievable. Like, that example that you just gave would never happen with this paint.
Well, I'm sure it would show up mixed correctly also.
Well, I mean, any paint, you have to mix it. If you, like, when I get this from my guys, I have to mix it. I mix it for a couple minutes, actually, with, you know, so make sure that it's all well blended. And then you've got to filter the paint.
Yeah, in this example, I think it just wasn't
could have been
mixed
a bad
properly,
can.
Or it could have been a bad can. Just because I just know, like, I know the people at Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah.
We've been going to the same Durham one right there.
Yeah.
And I know Felix, and like, you know, if he budgeted me 3 coats, he'll just throw on that 4th one if it really needs it at no extra charge.
Sure.
But when he finished that 4th one and he was like, this is going to need a 5th or 6th. Like, what's happening? Like, I got other shit to do. I was like, I have other shit to do also. Like, this client already paid. Like, this is weird. So it was just like one of those things where it was an abnormal situation.
And he didn't tint the primer?
He didn't tint the primer. I cannot intelligently answer that question because I did not.
Because that's one way to help.
I did not watch him prime the doors.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a white door when you got there, or you didn't see it.
The door showed up primed from Talbert's.
Okay.
And then he just did, I think, just a regular white primer on top of it. And then the next day started with this like very deep forest dark green.
Yeah.
And but it was literally like all 3 doors. Yeah. And they were different doors. That's how I knew. That's how I also knew it was the paint.
Yeah. I mean, when we started out, we were using like I said, the Sherwin-Williams Emerald urethane. And then we switched from that to Benjamin Moore Command. We are finding, just from a production standpoint, those products take 30 days to cure. Like, the cure time is so ridiculous. So when you're thinking about, like, you're taking the doors and drawers off and you're spraying them somewhere else, and you've got to pack them up. It's really nerve-wracking and painful to be packing up doors that are not fully cured.
Right, because it could be dry to the touch, but then the like bubble wrap or paper that you're using as a protective just pulls off a huge blotch of paint when you
just
unwrap
leaves
them.
More often it'll leave an imprint. So that happened to me once, and it only took one time for me to say, I'm switching paints.
Yeah.
I got to find something better.
Right, because who has the time to hold stuff for 30 days? It's not realistic.
Nobody.
You'd need a warehouse the size of Vermont.
Right,
It's not possible.
And honestly, like, this manufacturer will say, the cure time, the full cure time on this paint is 21 days. But my experience is
not that much shorter.
It's not, but the difference is, like, I could literally take denatured alcohol the next day and rub it on a new cabinet that we just sprayed, and nothing will come off of it. Unless the only exception to that is if it's a dark color, so that's where I found, that's why they have the 21-day thing, is if you clean the cabinets with anything besides water, or just even with water, with those dark colors, you can get some rub off within the first 21 days.
Okay.
Because I asked the manufacturer, but it's not, other than that, it's not going to do, like, anything. Right.
So if you're on day 18 and you take a sponge to it, you might get a little something off of it. But that
off maybe like a
dark
hail
color.
Navy or something like that.
Right. Okay,
maybe.
I get what you're saying.
But even after 18 days,
and it's a maybe.
Yeah. After it's probably more like a week. I'm sure they give you the 21 days for them, just saying like this. Yeah. We're being super safe.
Yeah.
But not the same. Like,
spoiler alert: like every company does that.
Yeah, But
I learned that the weight ratings on ladders are double.
Yeah,
they're actually just double. And if anybody's wondering what I mean by that, I mean, like, if the ladder says, like, weight max 300 pounds, it's actually 600 pounds.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Because the ladder manufacturer tested their ladder, and it broke at 600 pounds. So then they go, okay, we don't want somebody walking, we don't want somebody at 590. Or however they are with gear and stuff. So we take the number it broke at and we just cut it in half.
Yep.
So the ladder broke at 600 pounds. They just chop that in half at 300 pounds. And then they have never an issue with liability, because it's all about liability.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And, so it's nice. So that was that was like the main driver of us switching.
When did you switch to this one?
January of this year. So we went
coming
from
up on
using
a year.
Emerald Urethane to Benjamin Moore Advanced to Benjamin Moore Command, and now this is a whole like new line of it's a new animal, if you will, in paints like these. I call this the Mercedes of like cabinet paint, because
the processes were the same. You've just upgraded the product.
Yes, it's actually, the production schedule is faster with this, because there's not as much, like, after we spray the primer with this, yes, we sand in between each layer, but it's not as, it's faster. Like, we can reapply coats faster, and, we can stack these faster than the other products, so we can take on more projects. So it's a more efficient product. Plus, it's a better product.
How many people work for your company?
So I don't have any employees.
Okay, all 1099.
They're all independent contractors. We have, 4 regular like team members that work on site and or in our workshop, and then I usually do the spraying of the doors. But yeah, we're small. We're a small, like, family-run business, and
it's just me. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, there's honestly, Corbett, like, there's definitely some weeks when I'm working 7 days a week. Like last Sunday, I put in 7 hours, just to keep things on schedule, because sometimes every project's different, and like sometimes things come up. Like our last project, we had doors that had like this. It wasn't roping, but it was more of like a beaded trim all over. They were super custom doors, and I can't just spray those doors and like be like, oh, that's great. I literally have to go in and paint with like hand paint, go into all of the little dips and little crevices and get paint in there so it's a nice solid look. So it took a long time to do that, but every project's different.
Yeah. Every project is different. I mean, that's why I know anybody who's like, no, you're just scared of growing. Like, no, that's not true. Like, I am growing my business as we speak, but I will never become like a track home builder.
Yeah.
Like, I refuse, because the corners will get cut, things will get missed, and I won't be able to have my own eyes be the quality control.
Right.
That doesn't mean I don't want to make money and I don't want to grow my business, but we are in a unique spot in our business where we're at a perfect size to be reputable and able to complete the tasks, but not too big where you have to call like an 800 number in another state.
Right.
Which is just not appealing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm in a similar boat where like there's nobody. It's all subcontractors. But I mean, I've been using the same subs,
right.
Like some of them since I moved here 12 years ago. I've had the same plumber.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never switched plumbers. Shout out Tommy Adams. He's
I'll
on
have
the
to
job.
get Tommy's information.
We're
always looking for good plumbers and electricians.
Consider him had. You got me now.
And electricians.
So yeah. Oh yeah. I can get you an electrician today. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Julian, he's the man. He's doing
awesome.
my parents' house in Durham as we speak, and it's, they're building $1 million custom home in the historical district of downtown Durham. He's doing the entire electrical. He even is using my temporary power pole that I built and take from job to job. Oh, I hear a job site dog. Are you a studio dog today? We are blessed with the Willie Bear.
Oh my goodness.
What's up, buddy?
Hi, Willie.
There he is. Oh, yes. Okay. Are you telling us it's time to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, fine. So give me the company name again and how anybody could reach out to you.
Okay. So our name is A la Carte Cabinet Painting. You can find us on most social media platforms. Plus our website is www.alacartepainter.com. And we do free estimates and free color consultations. We'd be happy to meet with you guys. The one thing, we didn't discuss this, but real quick,
we don't have a crunch.
We don't have,
Yeah.
I know. I just want to mention why we're a little bit different.
Please. Yeah.
So
that's good information.
Yeah. No, the reason that I started this business was I was an avid DIYer. So, we started, my dad actually did our cabinets back in Massachusetts 20 years ago. And then we moved here and I painted my cabinets. And then my next door neighbor, who's a good friend of mine, was like, hey, can you help me do my cabinets too? And so, I was just a DIYer. I didn't know really the art of refinishing. I just painted the cabinets and they looked great. So I posted pictures on Nextdoor. And I think I had 80 people that were like, hey, can you paint my cabinets? And I was like, I don't even have a business. So that's kind of how it all started. It just sort of fell in my lap, if you will. But it all, we were thinking about, we saw a gap in the marketplace that wouldn't it be cool if homeowners who are the DIY people could save money with their cabinet painting, because it is expensive to have it done in full, we call it full service. If you hire our team to come in and just do everything, which we do, it's expensive. And but you don't want to go with somebody who's cheap. But we offer something known as a homeowner labor discount. So we give people the option to do their own cleaning, their own unhanging, and their own rehanging. So they can save money by doing some of the labor work themselves, because I either have to pay my team to do it or I can pass the savings along to homeowners. And it's not I just say, hey, if you sign up to do that, you're not just left on your own. We give you a tutorial, we give you the supplies that you need to do it, and we kind of walk you through it so you know exactly what you're doing. And And we even take it a step further for our super ambitious DIY people who have some time on their hands and they really want to save a lot of money. It can save you about 50% of the total cost of having your cabinets done. So you can paint your own boxes. So that's our, instead of BYOB, it's PYOB, Paint Your Boxes program. And again, we do a whole tutorial with you on how to do it. We give you all the supplies that you need to do a successful professional job. And if you get really frustrated, even in the process of you get like halfway into doing it and you're like, oh my gosh, I bit off more than I can chew, then you can hire one of our team members to help you complete it. So we're never going to like leave you hanging, but we want to meet you where you're at with your budget and kind of help you get your project done on your dime. Like whatever your resources are. Like I started this company because I've owned so many houses over the years and things like there's always a project to be done around the house, and like one project could be thousands of dollars and it's so frustrating. So we're like, it makes sense to come up with a way to meet, our DIY clients where they're at, like with their budget and everything else. Like, why not? So that's...
Yeah, I have a client who's doing his own demo for a bathroom renovation. I was like, you could do it.
Yeah.
I actually don't care.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's,
I was like, go ahead, cut up that fiberglass pan. We don't need it.
Yeah.
Rip those fiberglass walls out. They are going in a dumpster.
I always tell people too, like, if they do their own cleaning, for example, like, I can't paint a dirty door. Okay. So we go through things anyway, but like, it saves me a ton of time if I don't have to clean the doors. There might be some areas that I have to like spiff up a little bit just to get it to our, specs, but most of the time, like our clients do a great job cleaning. And, it's like,
I had a client who wanted to do their own painting, and I was like, understand that painting is caulk and putty. Like, that's all the one. So, like, if you're upset that there's nail holes, you didn't want me to do the whole thing. And he was like, you made that clear, understood. We want to caulk, putty, and paint. And I was like, okay, cool. Here's a bill. Have fun.
Yeah.
And they did a great job. Actually, I have no idea. I didn't go back and check, but they were happy with the framing, the doors, the sheetrock, the trim, all that jazz. And, but it was just simply one of those things where I think for them it was simply, it was just budget. Like, I don't think they were enjoying painting. I think they just really didn't have the money to spend.
Yeah.
But, I was willing to work with them. I don't really do that anymore because I find that most homeowners don't listen to my podcast and realize what is in the realm of things. So they'll be upset that they are doing the painting, but then, or they won't be upset they have to paint, but then be upset that it's not caulked and puttied. And I'm like, the painter does the caulk and putty. That's who does that. Like, trim carpenters do not go back and putty the nail holes. That is not their job. It never has been, and it never will. But if you think it does, then you are simply misinformed. This is not your neighborhood contractor who's trying to work with you who then gypped you out of the paint and caulk. Like, no, you were unaware that painter means caulk, putty, tape, plastic, the whole in fact, that's the real work. The painting's the easy pass. As you can vouch, the prep is everything.
Prep is everything.
Yeah.
And like for those, to that point, like for the DIY people, because caulking, it can be tricky. Like, if you don't know
it is a skill.
It's a definite skill.
And you waste more than you use.
Yes.
Because you're always like, you got to lay it on over a crack and then go back with either like a finger or a tool or a popsicle stick, and all that extra that comes up is just garbage. It can't really be reused.
That's what makes a painting job look spectacular. I call it zipping things up. So, when you've got all those holes filled, all the caulk lines super straight, and it just, like, every crevice is filled, and it just looks... That's what makes it look good. So if that's something that an area, for example, that a homeowner would not be comfortable doing, then one of our team members can come in and do those, that piece of it, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
So,
but then, I mean, in your world, you have you have the both the need for the incredible caulking job, but then also the need to know, like, yo, don't be caulking the rails to the panel and the stiles to the door panel. Like, I had a painter, I will not mention him, and I haven't used him since, caulked all the windows shut in a renovation, every single one. And I walked in and they were caulking them in front of me, and it was like I was dealing with the owner of the company, and he had like 5 Hispanic dudes just going to town, and like everything looked great, but I literally saw the dude caulk in the window, and I was like, do you see this dude caulking the kitchen window? And he was like, yeah, I thought your windows were painted shut. I was like, no, I spent a lot of time sanding them and getting them to reopen because they were all functioning.
Not
and he was
anymore.
like, and he literally said, no, you didn't. And I was like, I had Justin out here with my power sander for days. I graphited like to get him to smooth operate better. I was like, what do you
want to cry?
I was so pissed. Yeah. At the end of the day, though, the dude knew he screwed up and just didn't charge me for the whole job.
Okay.
And then like blamed me and used that as the excuse to not work with me in the future. And I was like, bro, I didn't walk into your house and caulk all your windows shut and then call you a liar to your face when you said they worked, because I got them all to open, and that's why I didn't replace them, because the other 9 houses that I've rehabbed, I've had to replace them because they didn't work. These all worked. Currently the house is rented and none of the windows open. So like if there was a fire, they would just have to break the window and get out. But they could still get out. Like, you could break the window with a chair, but it definitely sucks.
Yeah.
But also in the state of North Carolina, no one opens windows anyway. It's too hot. So the AC works. I know that much.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I was not happy.
No.
Obviously.
No.
I was pretty pissed. Yeah.
Oh man.
And it was a friend of mine who was like, hey, my friend's a painter. And I was like, word? I love you. Give me his number. And I don't blame that friend at all, for the record. But, it was just like,
that's a nightmare.
When that situation is a nightmare. And then it went way off the rails when he like basically called me a liar and was like, no, you didn't. There's no way you got these to open.
So let's be clear. Yeah. This gentleman that you're speaking about, he will not be featured on your podcast.
No, I honestly don't even remember his name.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't even remember his name. All I remember is he drove a nice white Mercedes, and his painters didn't.
Okay.
It's honestly all I can remember. Yeah. But no, honestly, I've only veered away from my painter one time, and it was my bad. Basically, there was an issue with his price. So I said, you know what? And he happens to be my painter and my sheetrocker. Okay. And I was like, you know what? This is drastically high. This is higher than even a negotiation. So I went and I got a new painter and a new sheetrocker, and they did the job. And yes, I saved probably $2,000.
That's significant.
It is significant, but looking back, I would have lit $2,500 on fire to not have the headaches I had when the sheetrocker blamed the painter and the painter blamed the sheetrocker and the sheetrocker blamed the painter, and back and forth we went on like 3 or 4 spots. Whereas my other guy is both sheetrocker and painter. So there's no one to blame.
Right.
And I just go, hey, that spot needs to be fixed. I don't care if it was the hanging of the board, the tape, the mud, the finisher, or the paint. You're all of them. Just get it done. And the $2,000 I saved was not worth the headache. Now, that's not everybody's case.
Yeah.
But for me, I'll never make that mistake.
Yeah.
I will go right back to my guy if he's too overpriced and be like, look, I think you're charging me $2,000 more than you should. Maybe can you come down $1,000 and we'll be okay because I trust the finished product. Chances are he'll say yes, but never again will I go back to those other two, because it was just a constant, not my problem, basically.
Yeah.
And it's just like, look, man, I can't do the trim until you finish this corner. Like you're holding up a whole house right now.
That's, you know what though, that makes me think about an important part for your listeners who are like price shopping around for whatever contractors that they're price shopping around for. You never want to go with the cheapest guy because you're always going to have a headache and you're always going to have like a future problem. Any contractor that values their time and values their skills is not going to be haggling with you on price. So I walk away from jobs all the time because I know the value of my time.
And you know the value of your people.
And I know the value of my people, and I know the value of my service. So it's okay to not, as a contractor, it's okay to not like get every single job, and not every client is going to be your perfect client. But like for homeowners, like, you know, I think just respect. Like if you find somebody that was referred to you, don't try and talk them down on every single little aspect of things, because you might lose that opportunity with that person. And then, you know, our industry is not that big. Like a lot of us know each other. So, you know, like I might have this homeowner that I'm like, shoot, I really shouldn't have taken on this project with these people because they're impossible
difficult
to work with, right? That word gets out to other contractors. So, you know, what you dish out comes back around. So
yeah, we call it the asshole markup.
Yeah, I mean, it's
a real thing.
It is a real thing, but it's a real thing for a reason.
Yeah, I have a client who I did a Tesla charger install. I drive one myself. My buddy Jeremy, who is a very talented electrician, also has one, so we can put in the chargers. It's super easy, and we've been doing it a bunch. And this one dude, you know, we're not going to drop names, but this one dude, you know, he was haggling about every little thing. He even wanted to supply his own plug. And I was like, the plug is $8 at Home Depot. Like, okay, I guess he was like, oh, I'm going to buy the $23 one that's for RVs. I was like, guess what? Going to function exactly the same in your air and dry proof garage. Like, I don't know what, like, okay. Right. And when I say it was the most difficult, first of all, to put in one of these is literally like you need a length of cable, you need the plug, you need a box for the plug to go in, and a circuit. Like this is not
rocket science.
Very, very not rocket science. And doubly so for my boy Jeremy, who's actually the electrician. I'm really his assistant, but I got the job and I have the tools and I bring a table and I show up with all, you know. And like, you know, now I can be like, oh, you're doing the breaker, you need this screwdriver. And like, boom, boom, you know, and while you're doing that, I'll mount the box. And like, you know, we knock it out in an hour. But, you know, so one team, one dream. But I mean, every little thing, even to the point where after we were done and it was working perfectly, he like sent a picture to his buddy who's an electrician in another state, not even this state with this building code, to where his buddy in another state of a picture where you couldn't even see the grounding bar was like, that doesn't look grounded. And like freaked out, sent all these texts, called me, was like, I don't think it's grounded. And I was like, I don't know what planet you're on. It wouldn't work if it wasn't grounded. Of course we grounded it. That's the blue copper. Like, what are you talking about? Like, right? So I was like, yo, Jeremy, can you just ride out there and show him? He was like, sure. Let's just leave him happy, right? Another phone call for some other thing, right? And I was like, at the end of the day, he just pissed me off so much for no reason when we did the exact thing he wanted perfectly, flawlessly, and it worked. Like I tested my car on it. Worked fine. To the point where he called me for another job and I just sent him whatever, I don't remember what the job was or what I came up with as a number. Yeah. But I just doubled it. I just literally doubled it. I was like, you get the asshole price because I don't want to deal with you. So if you say yes, it's worth it because I just made twice the profit for the same job. But if you say no, I kind of just wanted you to say no.
Yeah.
And like, if he ever called again, he's gonna have the asshole price forever.
I wish I could be like that though. Like I have the problem with I'm like too nice to people. Like
I am very nice till you really take advantage of me.
for example, I have this, we did this one job back in like January. Beautiful. Their cabinets came out beautiful. And then she calls, she replaced her hardware on it. And oftentimes when people replace their hardware, little note to their listeners out there, a lot of times they don't, the manufacturers don't always give you the right size screws, especially for drawers.
Good hardware companies will have 2 lengths of screw.
Yeah, they always give you the breakaway screws, which are pain in the, you know what?
They're also garbage. They're also just so bad.
I always bring my own screws when we have reinstallations, for that reason. But anyway, so long story short, we did their hanging. The job was in January. I heard from them in May, and they said that like a couple of the screws weren't long enough, and so a couple of the knobs like kept falling off, and I was just like, first of all, like,
wait, you just said they put in their own hardware?
No, they gave us the new hardware, but because the manufacturers didn't supply the right screws, I had to use whatever I happen to have in my bag of tricks to, in the moment for the reinstallation to get these things on. And but anyway, so like, what would a normal person would probably just go to the hardware store and be like, just get the right screw, right? She calls me and she has me come back and like replace out a couple of screws for these. And I was like, this is really not, like, it's kind of a waste of my time. Like, I'll do it because I'm a nice person, but it was like ridiculous, right? So fast forward, I hear from her like a month ago, and she's like, one of my hinges just broke, and my husband like went to the store to try and replace it, and he didn't get the right one, and do you think you can swing by? And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
like,
for $149.
I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not like that's not my job. I'm a cabinet painter. Like, we just reinstalled your old hinges or whatever hinges that you had, and it's just outside of my responsibility. But
also like, if this lady said she had a husband capable of taking the hinge off to go to the hardware store to get the wrong hinge, he's probably capable of going back to get the right hinge.
Yeah, no, but so I literally spent about 7 minutes comprising an email to her with instructions on like, well, this will help you like get the right hinge, and this is how you sort of measure the door, and blah, 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 blah. And lots of times the old hinges are labeled, so you just have to find the same size, and I'm trying to like walk her through it. He gets the wrong one again. So she texts me. She's like, he can't get the right hinge. And I'm just like, oh, dear Lord.
Have you ever just thought of replying with a happy yes and then sending them a bill for your time? It took me 30 minutes to drive here and 20 minutes to do this, 10 minutes at Lowe's, 10 minutes back, 30 minutes to drive home. Here's a bill for 2.5 hours. If you really want me, an overpriced handyman, because you are not a regular handyman, to come out here and replace your hinge.
And it's not even my lane. Like, I do installations. I deal with hinges all the time, and I know them really, really well, right?
Right.
But
that doesn't mean you consider yourself a handyman person. Like, just because you know it doesn't. Yeah.
It's all about staying in your lane.
I know the layers of how to do drywall. Right. I'm not a drywall guy. Yeah.
It's just, it takes all types of people, and long story short, I told her I told her because I'm a nice person, I was like, I'll swing by, but I said, here's the thing, please understand that I'm not replacing anything. Like, I will look at it and tell you, in my professional opinion, what you need to do, but I'm not taking time, or I'm not taking the door down to do anything, because you know what would happen? I'd take the door down,
and the other hinge would break.
Something else would happen, like the door would get scratched,
and then they'd blame you.
I'd have to go back and respray. I'm like, no, I see the whole thing playing out. I'm like, no.
Yeah. I mean, I had a similar story that turned out as far opposite as it could, where a client was like, I want you to come and give me a price to take these 2 rooms that have a framed opening and put in a French glass door to separate them. Yeah. And I was like, that is easy. And while I was there, she was like, hey, this hinge is loose on my cabinets. And I was like, I drove here in the car, not the truck. I have no tools. Do you have a toolbox? And she had this little, like, tiny little toolbox. And I looked at it and I was like, give me that screwdriver. And I just fixed it right on the spot. Yeah. And she was like, oh my God, it's been bothering me for so long, blah, blah, blah. Like, can I give you like $50? And I was like, no, you can give me nothing. Hire me for this job. Like, we're good. But that's like exactly the opposite. Plus, I am literally the guy you call to fix the hinge. So that's like completely opposite. Like, so they were literally. So you want to
come show up at my client's house?
If they accept a bill, if they've got Venmo and Cash App, I will go. Let's do it.
I got a guy.
Yeah. The difference between you and I, though, which is a big one, is I don't do the free estimate that you do.
Okay.
I do not. I will give you a free phone call. But if you want me to come out to your house and take measurements and look at stuff and then go home and call all my subs and my suppliers and get you a real price, that's $100.
Yeah.
And I'll take it off at the end. So it becomes a free estimate.
Yeah.
But if you're just shopping around contractors, I'm a one-man band. If I go to you, I didn't go to her. Right. If I go to her, I didn't go to you. So like you said, we value our time.
Yeah.
And if you don't value your time, why would you value your quality of work? Mm-hmm. So for me, I value my time that much. To be honest, it's not even that much to get an accurate estimate. And that, I used to do it all for free, and now I don't. And that helps me also weed out more serious customers.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if you're just like, oh, I wonder what a deck would cost. Like, cool. How big? Trek, cedar, pressure treated, what kind of rail? Like, oh, I don't really know. What do you think? No, not interested.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I need a deck. Cool. Give me $100. I'll come out and measure it. Let's talk 3 different materials. Okay, great. What's your Venmo? That's the guy. He's more serious.
Yeah.
Or at least ready to spend the money.
Yeah.
And like, I am not somebody to tell anybody what to do with their money.
Yeah.
But I know my time. It's just like, your time.
Uh-huh.
It's borderline rude for that client to ask you to come look at that, unless like, you're doing it casually over a glass of wine because you've become friends. Like, there are exceptions to rules, but like for the most part, that you're not that person. Yeah. Like, it's also not your problem. 5 months later, a hinge broke. That's not your, like,
I must have cursed the hinge
when
we rehung it.
Yeah. Like, I cracked it just a little bit. So I was like, that's going to last 5 months.
I think moving forward, I'm going to have to start praying over every single hinge that we reinstall.
Maybe, or it might be, you might already have it, but maybe you might need to just add a little one sheet that's like, by the way, 3 days after install, we are not responsible for your hinges, and 2 weeks after install, we're not responsible for scratched paint or like.
Yeah, I mean, our contract,
I'm sure you have a contract.
Has a lot of stuff in it, and it just seems like just when you think you have it all, it's like, nope, didn't think of that. And then that has, it's always that one thing. And that gets added in because, you don't want it to happen again. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily in the state of North Carolina, text messages are considered contracts. So I actually don't have contracts. I just make sure that everything's in an email or a text.
Yeah.
That's considered contract. Okay. So I just have never needed to do that. Mm-hmm. But there have been some moments where I've had to scroll back up and be like, wait a minute. This is the price we agreed on. It's right here in black and white. And they're like, oh, you're right. My bad. I'm like, cool. We're fine.
Yeah.
Or honestly, with my subs, sometimes I'll have somebody go out. My painter will price something. He'll text me the number. 8 months later, we start the job. I forgot.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
And I'll just be like, how much was it? And he'll be like, no. It was way more. I was like, no. He's like, yeah, look, here's the text.
You have to be careful, though, with those text messages because they go away after a while. Did you know that?
That's a setting.
Save them for a certain amount of time.
That's a setting.
Okay, so you know.
Yeah, mine don't go away.
That'd be very bad.
That would be very bad. But yeah, mine don't go away. I let my phone erase other stuff that I don't need before texts. And also, I'm one of the people who only has 80 pictures on their phone, so my phone's full. Or my phone's empty, rather.
Completely opposite of me.
Yeah, well, so every, when I take a bunch of job site pictures, I will then airdrop them into a folder, and then that folder will go to the person who's going to start doing my social media in October. But once they either get posted or sent to the prospective person, I delete them from my phone. I can't handle like scrolling 8 months up to try to find a picture of something important. If it's important, it's kept. If it's not, it's deleted. So if you look at my phone now, it's like the picture with me and Paul O'Neill, a bunch of pictures of me and my girlfriend, and a bunch of pictures of my dog. And then there's like 20 very brand new work pictures.
That's impressive. That goes back to like your organization skills, which.
Well, I mean, look at my office. I'm an organized person.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome.
Well, yeah, I think it. Well, you got to be organized in this business. We run a small business.
You do.
But
I feel like because I do everything. It's like you're spread thin. So
yeah,
that's why I work 7 days a week sometimes.
Well, you have time for the podcast, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, but I had to hire my guy to come in and spray the doors. So I'm the one that sprays the doors. So, but I'm happy to be here. It's worth every single, second. And it's so nice to meet you. So,
yeah, well, hopefully we can do some work together. I'm sure I'll get at least 1 or 2 clients in the future who are like, I'm thinking about refinishing my cabinets. Well,
I got
a guy. I got a gal.
Yeah. I got a girl. That can get you. I know. We need more girls in the industry.
That is true. Yeah. Do you know of hold on. It's important enough that I've got to look it up. His name is Jeff Gannon. Do you know Jeff Gannon?
I can't say I do.
No. Well, he teaches construction basically at was it NCCCC, I think, or whatever the
community college.
Yeah, I might have added an extra C or something, but he does specifically a course designed for females trying to get into the industry, and he said that at least while he's been teaching, he has seen an uptick both in the amount of women taking his course and the amount of women like finishing it and moving on to the industry.
That's awesome. So
it's a plus somewhere at least.
Yeah. I mean, it's a needed, it's an under, it's not served, but like, there's just not a lot of us in there, If any, there's a lot of female painters though. I will say there's quite a few of us out there. So, if anything, you'll see the license plate. But I'd love to see more like women get into like GCs and carpentry. We used to have a female carpenter on our team, actually.
I sold my GC like test prep books to a woman.
Yeah.
Who was trying to take the test.
It's something I've thought about because technically I can't hire any employees in the state of North Carolina without my GC. Mm-hmm. So that's why I use independent contractors.
I've got GC. You don't want employees anyway, so just keep it 1099. Keep it 1099, but get your license.
Yeah.
Well, get your license. That's a good move, but don't hire employees. Your tax person will agree. But I think that's a great place to leave it. As always, the Orange Hammer Podcast. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of those places. And if you need CRS contracting and you're in the Triangle in North Carolina, corb@wstg.com or 845-489-6057. Heather, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye, everybody.